Before she ever speaks a word, a verdict has already been written, not in conversation, but in motion. In the next 90 seconds you'll stop guessing and start seeing the tiny, honest signals women give that separate curiosity from cold politeness, testing from genuine pull. Most men waste their best lines trying to win approval. That's the mistake. Approval is cheap. Attention is earned. This isn't about tricks or manipulative scripts. It's about reading the unspoken code behind posture, breath, micro-expressions and rhythm, and using that information to stay calm, keep your frame, and magnetize without chasing. Imagine she leans in, plays with her hair, or mirrors your stance. Is she flirting or sizing you up? Most men answer the wrong question. They interpret every smile as permission. They react. They hand over value with their expression, their tone, their timing. And attraction dies. What you'll learn here is the opposite: how to notice without reacting, how to let curiosity accumulate, how to convert tiny, unconscious leaks of interest into real desire by doing less, not more. You'll discover the 3 microsignals that actually mean something, the 2 body rhythms that reveal comfort versus attraction, and the single mindset shift that makes your presence speak louder than your sentences. No canned lines. No fake confidence. Just pragmatic, biological truth delivered as a skill set: observe, calibrate, hold the charge. When you stop performing and start resonating, women don't just notice you, they feel safe enough to let curiosity turn into surrender. And that's when the game flips: silence becomes powerful, steadiness becomes irresistible, and you stop being another man who explains himself and become the man who simply is. Stay with me, because by the end of this video you won't be guessing at signals anymore. You'll read them. You'll control the tempo. And you'll own the room before you say a word. The fundamental error, the mistake that unravels 99% of interactions before they even begin, is believing that her body language is a conversation with you. It is not. It is an internal monologue made visible. A smile, a touch on the arm, a prolonged gaze, these are not invitations for you to act. They are questions she is asking herself, and your reaction is the answer. She isn't offering you a green light, she is testing the integrity of your frame. She is unconsciously probing to see if you will crumble under the slightest pressure of her attention. Will you get excited like a puppy, with a quick, high-pitched laugh that seeks to please? Will your breath catch in your chest, a clear sign that she has thrown you off your center? Will your voice pitch up in eagerness, betraying your need for her to like you? Her body is a finely tuned instrument, a biological polygraph designed over millennia to detect one thing above all else: your emotional center. Is it solid, an unmovable oak rooted deep in the earth? Or is it hollow, a dead leaf ready to be blown away by the slightest breeze of her validation or disapproval? When you react, you are screaming that it's hollow, that your internal state is entirely dependent on her external validation. The moment you become reactive, you become predictable. And in the world of female attraction, predictable is the silent killer of desire. This is not a conscious choice she makes, a deliberate and cruel game. It is a deep, biological imperative etched into her DNA. Her instincts are wired to seek out a man whose emotional state is a rock, an anchor in the chaotic sea of life. When you react to her tests with nervous excitement or fawning approval, you are communicating that your anchor isn't set, that the slightest gust of her attention can push you off course. And her primal brain, the part of her that operates beyond logic and reason, asks a simple, brutal question: if she can move you that easily with a simple smile, what will happen when a real storm hits? What will happen when life presents a true challenge? Her subconscious mind registers this instantly as a liability, not an asset. The flicker of attraction she may have initially felt evaporates, not out of malice, but out of a primal, non-negotiable instinct for emotional survival. She doesn't think it, she feels it. And the feeling is one of profound disappointment. The men who truly captivate, the ones who create a gravitational pull that draws women in without effort, operate on a different frequency entirely. They understand that calmness under her stimulation is the ultimate display of value. It communicates a universe of unspoken truths, that you have options, that your self-worth is not on the line in this single interaction, that you are not starved for her approval because you approve of yourself. This isn't about being cold or aloof. That's a common mistake men make, overcorrecting into a state of manufactured disinterest. Aloofness is a wall, it's a defensive posture born from a fear of rejection, a brittle shield that blocks any possibility of genuine connection. Anchored calmness, on the other hand, is a foundation, it's an offensive posture born from a deep confidence in one's own value, a solid ground that invites connection, but on your terms. When she offers a signal, a test, a playful jab, a lingering look, the magnetic man doesn't ignore it. He sees it, he acknowledges it with a subtle shift in his own energy, perhaps a slow, knowing smile that reaches his eyes, or a brief, deliberate pause in his speech that amplifies the moment, but he does not react to it. He holds the tension. He lets it build. He understands that her nervous system is speaking directly to his nervous system, in a language that exists far beneath the surface of words and logic. While the average man is busy frantically searching his mind for the perfect line, a clever quip to win her over, the centered man is controlling the energetic rhythm of the space. He knows that well over 90% of this dance is nonverbal. Your words are merely the foam on the surface of a deep ocean of energetic communication. Your posture, is it open and relaxed, or closed and defensive? Your cadence of breathing, is it deep and slow, or shallow and rapid? The steadiness of your gaze, can you hold it without flinching? This is your true voice. And it is speaking volumes before you ever open your mouth. It's telling her whether you are the storm, tossed about by her every whim and test, or the lighthouse, unmovable, a fixed point of strength that she can navigate by. The reactive man is the storm. The magnetic man is the lighthouse. She can crash her waves against the lighthouse all night, but it will not move. And that, to her primal brain, is the very definition of safety and, by extension, irresistible attraction. So let's decode the signals you've been misreading your entire life, the signals that have led you down countless dead ends. The hair flick. The lip bite. The slow, deliberate crossing and uncrossing of her legs. You have been trained by movies and popular culture to see these as overt, almost cartoonish signs of interest, as a direct line to escalation. This is a fatal misinterpretation born from a fundamental misunderstanding of female psychology. These are not just signs of interest, they are signs of heightened emotional energy. That energy could be attraction, yes. But it could just as easily be nervousness, social anxiety, or, most importantly, her consciously or unconsciously testing your focus. Let's break it down. The hair flick is a classic preening gesture, a biological signal of wanting to look good for a potential mate. But it's also a displacement activity for nervous energy, and a powerful visual lure. She does it to see if your eyes dart to the movement, to see if you can be easily distracted from your point, from your center. If your gaze follows her hand every single time, you've just communicated that she controls your focus. The magnetic man sees the flick, registers it, but keeps his gaze locked on hers, a silent communication that his attention is not so easily bought. The lip bite is another classic, often portrayed as a gesture of pure sensuality. It can be. But it's also a common sign of anxiety, and a potent test. She does it to see if your composure breaks, to see if you become visibly flustered or aroused by this flash of manufactured sensuality. If your breath hitches, if you stumble over your words, or if you look away shyly, you have failed the test. The centered man might register it with a slight, almost imperceptible smirk, acknowledging the game without becoming an emotional player in it. Then there is the act of her leaning in. The average man's heart leaps. He thinks, she's interested. She wants to be closer to me. But this is a proxemic test, a test of your relationship with physical space. She's testing your territorial integrity. Will you retreat, subconsciously signaling submission? Will you rush forward to meet her, eagerly signaling your neediness? Or will you hold your ground, a silent declaration of your solid frame, forcing her to be the one who fully enters your space? The power lies in remaining still, in letting her close the distance, in being the mountain that she comes to. On top of this, you must understand the politeness trap. Many of these signals are simply social lubrication, the gestures of a well-socialized woman being friendly. The average man, often starved for genuine female attention, mistakes this basic friendliness for intense, personal attraction. He sees a smile and thinks it's an invitation. He gets a light touch on the arm and he plans the wedding. This leads him to overinvest emotionally, to escalate too quickly, and to be met with confusion and rejection, leaving him wondering, but she was giving me all the signs. She wasn't. You were simply misreading the language. The key is to stop categorizing these signals as good or bad and start seeing them for what they are, data. She is giving you a constant stream of information about her internal state and, more importantly, about how your presence is affecting her. The mistake is to react to the data. The power is to absorb it, calibrate your own behavior, and remain the calm, unmovable center around which her energy revolves. The true, undeniable signals of desire are far more subtle. They are not theatrical gestures, they are involuntary biological leaks that bypass her conscious mind entirely. These are the tells that she cannot hide, for they come not from her social programming, but from her animal self. The first, and perhaps most common, is mirroring. When she is genuinely captivated and feels a deep rapport with you, her body will unconsciously begin to mimic yours. You lean back on your right elbow, and a few seconds later, you'll notice she has shifted to a similar position. You pick up your glass for a slow, deliberate sip, and she will reach for hers a moment later. Her speech patterns might even begin to match your cadence and tempo. This is the work of mirror neurons in the brain, a primal, hardwired attempt to build rapport and connection on a cellular level. Her brain is subconsciously saying, this person is like me. This person is safe. I am on the same wavelength. The second, and more scientifically concrete, is pupillary dilation. When we are looking at something, or someone, we desire, our pupils widen to let in more light, to literally see more of it. This is an autonomic nervous system response you cannot fake, directly linked to the release of neurotransmitters like dopamine and oxytocin in the brain. If you are holding a steady, relaxed gaze in a room with consistent lighting and you notice her pupils expand, becoming large and dark, you are witnessing a true, undeniable flicker of attraction. It is a biological confession her body is making that her words may never admit to. Of course, be intelligent. If you walk from a dark room into a bright one, her pupils will constrict. This is about observing the change in a stable environment. The third, and most profound signal, is a change in her breathing and the establishment of limbic resonance. When a woman feels a deep sense of safety, trust, and attraction in a man's presence, her breathing will often deepen and slow down, subconsciously attempting to synchronize with his. If you are practiced in maintaining a slow, deep, diaphragmatic breath, you will notice this shift in her. You will feel a subtle change in the energy between you, a shared stillness, a feeling that the rest of the world and its noise has faded into the background. This is limbic resonance. It is her primal, mammalian brain acknowledging your masculine core and feeling safe enough to drop its shields and move from a state of evaluation into a state of connection. These are the signals that truly matter. They are quiet, they are involuntary, and they are brutally honest. And they are completely invisible to the man who is looking for the obvious, the man who is chasing loud, overt validation instead of listening to the quiet, powerful truth of her body. He's looking for a fireworks display when the real magic is happening in the silent, invisible, energetic space between them. Once you can perceive these true signals, the game shifts entirely from interpretation to tension management. This is the advanced skill, the one that separates the boys from the men. Understanding that she feels a pull towards you is not a license to act. That's the amateur's move, the move of a man who can't believe his luck. For the master, it is an invitation to deepen the pull. The real art of seduction lies not in releasing tension, but in holding it. In perceiving the spark of attraction and then allowing that charge to build in the space between you, like the palpable hum of a high-voltage wire. You don't rush to cash in on the attraction by making a clumsy physical move or, even worse, trying to solidify it with words like, "I'm really feeling a connection here." Such phrases are poison, they are the desperate pleas of a man who needs verbal confirmation for an unspoken feeling. They instantly discharge all the beautiful, mysterious, unspoken tension you've worked so hard to build. Instead, you let it hang in the air. You let her wonder. You hold eye contact a second longer than is socially comfortable, creating a moment of pure, electric connection that exists outside of time. You let a silence stretch, creating a vacuum that she feels an almost overwhelming compulsion to fill, not with nervous chatter, but with more of her emotional investment, a more vulnerable glance, a softer expression. This is the critical difference between a man who chases and a man who attracts. The chaser sees a signal and pounces, immediately discharging the tension and ending the game. The attractive man sees the signal, remains still, and by his very stillness, his very refusal to react, amplifies the tension tenfold. He makes her question her own feelings. Why am I so affected by him? Why can't I figure him out? Why does his silence feel more powerful than other men's words? This curiosity, this internal questioning, is the fertile ground where deep, lasting attraction grows. You are no longer playing a game of moves and countermoves. You are conducting an orchestra of emotion, and your instrument is your own controlled, grounded, imperturbable presence. He who controls the tension controls the entire interaction. This brings us to the crucial, and often misunderstood, transition from simple interest to genuine surrender. These are two vastly different universes. Interest is a mental state, it is her mind being curious about you, entertained by your words, engaged in the surface-level conversation. Surrender is a physical and emotional state, it is her body and nervous system trusting you on a profound, primal level. A woman is interested when she laughs at your jokes, asks you questions about your job, and actively participates in the back and forth of the conversation. A woman is surrendering when her body softens in your presence. The change is palpable, almost visible to the trained eye. Her shoulders, which may have been slightly raised or squared off in a defensive posture, will drop and relax. The tension will leave her face, particularly around her eyes and mouth, replaced by a soft receptivity. Her gaze will become less probing and analytical, and more like a gentle embrace. She stops testing you with challenging questions or playful jabs, and starts revealing herself to you, sharing more personal stories, expressing more vulnerability, offering you glimpses into her inner world. Interest asks questions about your job, surrender shares her childhood fears or dreams. Interest maintains a polite social distance, surrender finds unconscious excuses to enter your personal space, to brush her hand against yours. Interest's laughter is social and controlled, surrender's laughter is a full-body release, uninhibited and genuine. Interest tests your frame, surrender melts into your frame. This transition does not happen because you said the perfect sequence of words. It happens when she feels, on a non-negotiable level, that you are in complete control of the emotional atmosphere. It is the feeling of your unshakable centeredness that gives her permission to finally let go. Most men, tragically, shatter this delicate and beautiful process. The moment they feel her begin to surrender, they get excited. Their own internal frame wobbles with a surge of victory and anxiety. And they break the spell. They do it with a clumsy, premature compliment, "You have the most beautiful eyes," a nervous question seeking reassurance, "So, are you having a good time," or a premature move for a number or a kiss. They seek to possess the moment, to lock it down, and in doing so, they communicate one devastating thing, that they are not accustomed to this feeling, that her surrender is a rare prize they must quickly capture before it escapes. They kill the mystery. The dominant man, the man who understands this dynamic, does the opposite. As he feels her surrender deepen, his own calmness deepens. His movements become even slower, more deliberate, more certain. His voice may drop slightly in tone and tempo. He is not excited, he is grounded. He communicates through his very being that her surrender is not only welcome but a natural and expected outcome of his powerful presence. He creates a safe space for her femininity to flourish precisely because his masculinity is so solid and unwavering. He knows that love and desire are born from a sense of delicious uncertainty and unspoken potential. He is the anchor in her sea of emotion, and it is this feeling of being held by his steady presence that she will remember long after the words have faded. So, how do you embody this? This is not about faking a persona or memorizing a set of behaviors. That is the path of the performer, and women can sense a performance a mile away. This is about forging this presence within yourself, from the ground up, so that it becomes your natural state of being. It begins with a radical reconnection to your own body. For most of your life, you have lived in your head, a prisoner of your own anxious thoughts, your internal narrator running on a loop. Your body has simply been a vehicle to carry your brain from one obligation to the next. This must change, starting now. Throughout your day, at random intervals, practice the art of grounding. Practice feeling your feet on the floor. Whether you are standing in line for coffee, sitting in a meeting, or walking down the street, bring your entire awareness to the soles of your feet. Feel the solidness of the earth beneath you. This simple act pulls you out of the chaos of your head and into the calm certainty of the present moment. Next, master your breath. Practice breathing deep into your belly, not shallowly into your chest. A man who breathes from his chest is in a perpetual state of low-grade fight or flight. A man who breathes from his belly, whose stomach expands on the inhale, is in a state of calm command. This one change alone can radically alter your physiology, lowering cortisol and calming your entire nervous system. Then, slow down your movements. We live in a culture that prizes speed, but in the realm of presence, slowness is power. Walk with purpose, but without haste. Handle objects with deliberation, not with frantic energy. Erratic, fast movements communicate a nervous system in chaos. Slow, confident movement communicates a man in control of his world. And to the female brain, control equals security. Furthermore, you must learn to master silence. Learn to love the pause. Silence is not a void to be filled, it is a canvas upon which tension and connection are painted. In your next conversation, intentionally let a silence hang for 3 to 4 seconds after the other person has finished speaking. Feel the initial discomfort, the social programming screaming at you to say something, anything. And then, breathe into that discomfort and learn to sit in it calmly. This builds your tension tolerance. The man who is comfortable in silence is a man who is comfortable with himself. And the man who is comfortable with himself needs nothing from anyone else. This is the very core of true magnetism. Finally, understand that your presence must become your primary tool of communication. Your words are secondary. They are the decoration on the cake, your presence is the substance. The man who can remain centered while the world reacts around him is a force of nature. He does not need to intimidate or boast. His power is implicit, felt in his stillness. Other men are competing for attention with loud words and flashy gestures, peacocking for a moment's validation. He commands attention in absolute silence. This is the ultimate secret, the paradigm shift that changes everything you thought you knew about attraction. She doesn't want to be understood by your mind, she wants to be felt by your body. Your presence must invade her space, not with aggression, but with a calm, magnetic certainty that tells her nervous system that she is, for the first time in a long time, in the presence of a true masculine force. A man who is not a boy seeking his mother's approval, but a grounded being who can lead, protect, and create a world she desperately wants to be a part of. The most seductive man you can be is not the one with the best lines, but the one who has said everything before he even speaks. He is the one who simply is that if you are ready to stop guessing and start knowing, to move from being the man who is noticed to the man who is felt, then the journey has just begun. To master the art of unspoken communication, to learn how to calibrate tension, and to build the kind of unshakable presence that creates deep, instinctual attraction, you need a blueprint. The Code of Seduction provides that blueprint, breaking down the psychology, biology, and real-world application of these dynamics step by step. It is the advanced manual for the concepts we've explored today, designed to take you from a theoretical understanding to a lived embodiment of this power. You can find the link in the description and the pinned comment below. Remember, in the game of attraction, the man who masters the unspoken controls everything. And in that silent, powerful world, the body never, ever lies.